Today I'm going to be installing some stainless steel brake lines, front and rear. To prep the bike, I've already drained most of the brake fluid for this particular bike, a Yamaha R1 2009. It's an 8mm bleed screw, front and back. So, as you can see, rear is empty and the front is empty. I've already bled both calipers on the front. I'll make an additional video probably midway through the week or next just to show how to do the bleeding process, but for now I just wanted to prep the bike for only the stainless steel brake line installation. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a T40 Torx and I'm going to just undo the brake line at both the caliper and at the master cylinder. And once I take that off, we'll be ready to put the new one on. One thing also to note, when you take these off, they may drip a little bit from whatever fluid is left in the lines. Make sure you get that cleaned up right away, preferably with some soapy water. You don't want that staying on your paint for very long because it will wear away your paint. So now I've just got this one left. I've loosened it already, and we'll just twist that off. And the brake line comes right off. So here I've got the new line. For the rear, you can see this side is slightly curved, whereas this side is completely flat. The flat side is going to go up against the master cylinder, and the curved side is going to help it come right off of the caliper there. And when we put these on, we're going to want to make sure, you should have come with some hardware, have one washer on the bottom, go through, and then one washer on the other side so that both ends of the brake line are surrounded by the washers, and then put that right onto the spots where they mount up to. So when it's on, you'll see washer, brake line, washer, and then the bolt itself. And then we'll run it through the little brake line holder and do the same for this side with the remaining bolt. Then you just tighten those down, not terribly tight, and for the rear, we're all set. Now we will move on to the front caliper. So for the front calipers, we have a little bit more of a difficult job here. If you can see on the inside there, the brake line runs through that zip tie, so I'm going to cut that. And then up in here, if I can zoom in there, if you can see there's a little 8mm bolt holding that T-joint in place. So I'm going to take that out as well. And then they come down here through these brackets here. So I'm going to have to undo these bolts to get that bracket off, and then finally take the actual brake lines off. What I'm going to do, since gravity is going to pull whatever fluid is left down to the bottom, I'm going to take the top off first, and then get the top of the hose out away from all the body work, and then take care of the ones on the calipers. So when you're done, there'll be no more brake line. It did start to leak a little bit, so I had to shove a towel up under there. Started coming out pretty quick, so just be aware of that. And so down here, we're ready to go. There's the remains of the old brake line. And over here we're ready to go. So now we're just gonna prep the new line just like we did with the old one. each of these is going to have the washer on either side of the banjo, and we'll just string these up just the way the other ones came off. So I've got everything back on. The bent end up top so it angles straight down, and then they'll come down right onto the rotors there, or calipers rather, sorry. And you can see the T-joint right there. I've got the straight line coming down onto the right side looking from rider's position, rider's right. And then the split piece coming down onto rider's left. I'm going to add put these brackets back on here so that they will be held into position about like that. And I will be adding that zip tie that was cut earlier. Let's see if we can get in here. Back up top onto the fork tube to keep this line from interfering with the steering damper there. So I'm going to add that zip tie back on right there, and then I'll have another shot here when it's all cleaned up. So now that we've got the lines all installed, all that's left to do is to fill it back up with fluid and make sure there's no air or dirt in the lines. They should be pretty empty, so there should be no dirt in there, but also make sure the air is all gone too. So I've got this handy little tube that I've hooked up to the bleed screw, and we're just going to do this like a standard bleeding procedure, but with a whole lot more air in it. So we'll just keep filling it up, make sure it never gets lower than the lower line, and just keep running it through until there's no more air, and you're good to go.